Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I am Aniba freelancing Valley from Rehan School, Lahore campus. I am a student of teacher training level 1. Today we will call about TED Talk. We will chat GPT. Hi.
बिल्कुल।
The main
हाँ,
argument presented by Mariappan Jawaharlal in the talk.
the main argument Mariappan Jawaharlal presents is that traditional teaching methods often focus too much on simply delivering content, but that doesn't guarantee learning. Instead, he argues that real learning happens when students are active participants, exploring, questioning, and discovering for themselves. His core idea is that teachers should focus on facilitating learning rather than just lecturing, so students develop critical thinking and deeper understanding.
Okay. What does the speaker believe that teaching does not always result in learning?
Right, so the speaker believes that just because a teacher delivers information, it doesn't mean students actually isn't themselves. Without that, teaching can just stay at the surface level and real learning never takes place.
Okay. What role should teachers play according to the talk?
According to the talk, the teacher should shift from being a central figure who just delivers information to more of a facilitator or guide. In this role, teachers create learning experiences, ask probing questions, and help students take ownership of their own progress. In short, the teacher is a partner in the learning journey, not just a knowledge dispenser.
Okay. Why is failure considered an important part of the learning process?
Yes, failure is considered important because it actually gives students a chance to reflect, adjust, and deepen their understanding. When students make mistakes, they confront the gaps in their knowledge, and with guidance, they can learn much more effectively. So, failure becomes a step toward mastery rather than something to avoid.
Okay. What are the limitations of traditional lecture-based teaching?
Yeah, so the speaker points out a few key limitations. First, it often makes students passive listeners. They just absorb information without engaging deeply. Second, it's hard to personalize. It doesn't cater to different learning styles or paces. And third, it often focuses on memorization, not on critical thinking or real world application.
Okay. Okay. Next question is what role should teacher play according to the talk?
जी हाँ, टॉक के मुताबिक उस्ताद का किरदार एक सहूलतकार या गाइड का होना चाहिए। यानी उस्ताद सिर्फ मालूमात देने वाले नहीं, बल्कि ऐसे मौके पैदा करे जहाँ तलबा खुद सवाल करे, तजुर्बा करे और अपने सीखने का अमल खुद संभाले। उस्ताद का काम है कि वो बामकसद सीखने के तजुर्बा in the learning process, not just a lecturer.
Okay. Next question is what example does the speaker use to explain his idea?
Good question. So the speaker uses the example of learning to ride a bicycle. He says that just like riding a bike, real learning happens when you actively engage, try, fall, adjust, and keep going. It's not about someone just pushing you along. You have to experience it yourself.
Okay. How can students benefit from discovering knowledge on their own?
Yeah, so when students discover knowledge on their own, they tend to be more engaged and they remember things better. They build critical thinking skills because they have to figure things out themselves, learning, which stays with them long term.
Okay. What is the key message of the talk?
The key message of the talk is that education should focus on learning, not just teaching. In other words, we need to create environments where students actively explore, make mistakes, and take control of their own learning journey.
Okay. Tell me what is the difference between teaching and learning?
Yeah, that's a great distinction. Teaching is essentially the act of delivering information or instruction, while learning is the process where the student actually absorbs, understands, and applies that knowledge. So teaching is just one step, but learning is what truly counts because it's about the student's active growth and understanding.
Okay, however, learn something important without being formally through thought. Now, describe the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was a kid, I used to spend a lot of time just tinkering with my bike, taking it apart, adjusting it, figuring out how it worked. Nobody formally taught me, but through all those little experiments, I learned so much about how gears and brakes worked. It was all trial and error, and honestly, I think I remember it better than anything I was taught in a classroom.
Okay. Should exam focus more and on understanding than memorization?
I definitely think so. When exams focus on understanding, students have to apply concepts, make connections, and really think critically. That kind of learning sticks with them much longer, and it prepares them for real world problem solving, not just recalling facts.
Okay, how can schools encourage consistently among students?
Yeah, that's a great point. Schools can foster curiosity by giving students more autonomy, like letting them choose projects, explore topics that interest them, or ask their own questions. Also, hands on learning, real world connections, and letting them experiment can all spark that natural curiosity.
Okay, what changes would improve education in your community?
I think one big improvement would be integrating more project learning so students can connect what they learn to real world problems. Also, having smaller class sizes, more diverse teaching styles, and a focus on critical thinking would make a big difference.
Okay, describe the learning experience where making mistakes helped you improve.
Yeah, for me, it was actually when I was learning to code. At first, I kept making small errors in my programs, things like syntax mistakes or logic errors. But every time I failed and had to debug, I really understood what was happening under the hood. So each mistake actually helped me get better and more confident.
Okay, which idea from the talk did you find most convincing and why?
I think the idea that really stood out to me was the emphasis on failure as a learning tool. It was really convincing because it reframes mistakes, not as something to avoid, but as a natural, necessary step in really understanding and growing.
Okay, how would you redesign the classroom based on the idea or in the talk?
I'd redesign the classroom to be much more interactive and flexible. I'd have students working on projects in small groups, giving them autonomy to explore, and I'd make room for trial and error, so there's space for them to experiment, reflect, and share their discoveries.
Okay, can all subjects be taught through discovery based learning? Explain.
That's a really good question. I think while many subjects can benefit from discovery based learning, like science, history, or math, some abstract or foundational knowledge might still need direct instruction. The key is balance, using discovery to deepen understanding, but sometimes starting with a solid base of knowledge first.
Okay, what skills are most important for lifelong learning?
Yeah, I'd say critical thinking is huge, the ability to analyze and question. Also, curiosity, adaptability, and communication skills are really key. If you can learn how to learn and stay open to new ideas, you'll keep growing throughout your life.
Okay, how can students take greater responsibility for their own learning?
Yeah, so students can take more responsibility by setting their own goals, reflecting on what they understand, and seeking out resources beyond just class, like online tutorials, discussions, or projects. When they ask questions, experiment, and take initiative, they really own their learning journey.
Okay, what example does the speaker use to explain his idea?
Right, so the speaker uses the example of learning to ride a bicycle. He says that just like riding a bike, real learning happens when you actively experiment, make mistakes, and adjust, rather than just being passively carried along by someone else.
Okay, describe how can its talk is important for students.
Yeah, this talk is really important because it challenges the traditional approach to education. It reminds students that learning isn't just about receiving information, it's about actively exploring, making mistakes, and taking ownership. So it really empowers them to be lifelong learners.
Okay, discuss how the importance of active participation in learning.
Exactly. Active participation is crucial because it keeps students engaged. They're not just passive receivers, but active explorers. When they participate, they build personal and meaningful.
Okay. Thank you so much for talking me. Thanks. Allah Hafiz.
Your Allah Hafiz.